Hello and welcome to the Business English Podcast. I'm Rob and I'm so glad you're joining me today. Now, we have a crucial topic lined up: crisis and change communication, reassuring teams. Before we dive into the how-tos, let me tell you about Charlie. Charlie is a non-native English speaker working in a London-based tech company. He's doing well in his role, but last week his manager dropped a bombshell. There's going to be a major restructuring, and Charlie has to break the news to his team. This isn't just a minor announcement, it has real consequences for people's jobs, their morale, and even the company's reputation. Understandably, Charlie's nervous. Will his words cause panic or confusion? Will his accent or phrasing distract from the seriousness of the message? And most importantly, can he find the right balance between honesty and empathy in English? Have you ever felt that kind of pressure? Maybe not that exact scenario, but the weight of delivering tough news, knowing that every word matters. Communicating changes or challenges can feel like walking on eggshells. What if you slip up or say something that magnifies the fear rather than easing it? The truth is, mastering crisis and change communication in English isn't just about vocabulary, it's about clarity, tone, empathy, making your team feel seen and heard even in uncertain times. And here's a little secret: with the right phrases, structures, and approach, you can transform anxiety into reassurance, skepticism into trust. Now imagine if you had a simple formula, one that helps you open the conversation, present the facts, and reassure your team so they stay motivated and engaged. If that sounds like something you need in your professional toolkit, stick around. Over the next few sections, we'll explore exactly how to do this. We'll look at why it's so critical to communicate effectively during moments of change, because, let's face it, change is inevitable in any business. Then we'll break down specific language structures and examples you can use right away, even if English isn't your first language. Plus, I'll show you some common pitfalls to avoid so you don't end up causing any more confusion. But before we jump in, here's a quick question for you. How comfortable are you right now if you had to deliver difficult news at work? If your immediate reaction is, "I'd probably stumble through it," or "I wouldn't even know where to start," don't worry, you're not alone. Keep listening, because by the end of this episode, you'll have practical tools to handle change communication with confidence and calm. So, get ready to learn how to reassure your team, maintain morale, and deliver tough messages in the most empathetic and professional way possible. Ready to unlock Charlie's secret to success? Let's get started. Okay, we're exploring the art of crisis and change communication, how to announce big shifts, manage uncertainty, and keep morale high. But before we dive into the actual language you'll use, let's talk about why this skill matters so much. Have you ever seen a team freeze up or fall apart when big news hits? Maybe it's a merger, a budget cut, or a major leadership change. Everyone's on edge, asking, "What does this mean for me? Will my workload double? Is my job safe?" Those questions can spiral out of control if you don't address them head on and in clear, empathetic language. This is where effective crisis and change communication comes in. By choosing the right words, you can take a situation that might feel chaotic and transform it into an opportunity for growth and realignment. Here's the thing: if you approach a major announcement with a calm, informative tone, you reduce panic. If you show genuine empathy, you build trust. And if you encourage open dialogue, you prevent rumors from running rampant. Essentially, you're not just delivering news, you're guiding your team to a more focused, collaborative space. Think of it as putting on your captain's hat. The moment you say something like, "Here's what's happening, here's why, and here's how it affects you," People relax a little because they feel seen. Over the years, I've seen leaders who excel in this skill navigate everything from massive reorganizations to unexpected market downturns, often emerging with stronger, more cohesive teams. Here are a few common scenarios where you'll need this skill. Firstly, when dealing with new management or ownership, you'll need to reassure teams and clarify any new vision or direction. Secondly, could be when you're dealing with budget cuts or resource reallocation. Morale can dip fast in these circumstances if you don't explain the why behind tough decisions. And lastly, shifts in goals or responsibilities. People want to know what's changing, why it's changing, and how it impacts their day-to-day roles. Now, ready to find out exactly which words and phrases help you navigate these moments? In the next section, we'll break down a step-by-step approach for forming reassuring statements, plus some must-know phrases you can practice right away. And trust me, you won't want to miss the examples I'm about to share. They might just save you from your own crisis communication nightmare. Stay tuned. Right, we're moving into the core of our discussion. How to form the precise language that will keep your team calm, informed, and motivated when announcing big changes. Before we jump into specific phrases, I have a quick message for you. If you want more powerful professional resources and even a transcript of an episode, sign up for our weekly newsletter, the 3-Minute Minutes. Or if you're ready to turbocharge your progress with faster, better upgrades, check out the Business English Podcast Premium subscription. All the links are in the show notes. Now, let's get to the good stuff. The structure of a reassuring statement. In any big announcement, you want to 1. Acknowledge the situation. 2. Express empathy. 3. Provide factual details. 4. Offer reassurance. And 5. Encourage open communication. So, let's try out some key phrases you can use. I'll say each phrase twice before pausing so you can give it a go and shadow the pronunciation. After that, I'll give you a scenario where you might use it and point out any nuances in grammar or vocabulary. Phrase 1. I understand this news may be worrying. I understand this news may be worrying. You're in a meeting with your team announcing an unexpected department reorganization. This phrase acknowledges that the information could raise concerns. Notice the verb may be. It's softer than is, leaving space for different reactions. You're not assuming everyone's panicking, but you're validating that worry is possible. This small nuance helps you show empathy without over-dramatizing the situation. Phrase 2. Our priority is to support everyone through this transition. Our priority is to support everyone through this transition. Maybe you're introducing new leadership and want to emphasize unity. By saying our priority is, you're setting a clear focus. Notice you use the collective our, which suggests alignment and shared responsibility. The word transition also implies change without sounding negative or final. Useful when changes may evolve over time. Phrase 3. We're here to answer your questions and address your concerns. We're here to answer your questions and address your concerns. In a company-wide email or team call, this phrase tells your people that dialogue is open. The structure, we're here to, has a comforting, supportive tone. It emphasizes your availability and willingness to help, which is crucial in maintaining trust. Use these building blocks to craft your own reassuring statements. Next, we'll talk about the common pitfalls to avoid and some final tweaks to make your communication really shine. Because, let's face it, even the best phrases can backfire if used incorrectly. Keep listening because we're about to clear up those potential landmines. In this section, we're focusing on the common pitfalls and how to avoid them when delivering tough news or big changes. Because as we all know, the best phrases in the world can still backfire if your approach is off, or if grammar mistakes creep in and confuse your message. Let's start with a big one. Overly technical or vague language. When you're nervous or dealing with complex changes, it's tempting to hide behind buzzwords like synergy, matrix restructuring, or cross-departmental alignment. While these might sound official, they can also sound robotic. Instead, aim to simplify. Let your team know, we're merging two departments and here's why, rather than there's a transitional consolidation initiative affecting cross-functional roles. I mean, really? So, remember, clarity wins trust. Another frequent error is appearing distant or unapproachable. Maybe you're worried about sounding too emotional, so you default to a flat, impersonal tone. We regret to inform you of organizational changes. This might keep you safe, but it also disconnects you from your team. Instead, add a personal touch. I understand this might be unsettling. I want to assure you we're here to support you through these changes. That one small tweak, I want to assure you, lets people know you actually care. Now, let's talk about failing to invite questions. People often assume if no one's asking questions, everything's fine. In reality, your team might be too anxious or unsure to speak up. Encourage them. Please feel free to ask any questions, whether now or in private. This invitation can calm hidden worries and prevent rumours from spreading. Because when information is scarce, speculation goes wild, and that can be more damaging than the change itself. Moving on to grammatical slip-ups. If English isn't your first language, one common pitfall is mixing verb tenses when talking about the future. We are restructure the department next month. A better approach here would be, we will be restructuring the department next month. That small change, will be restructuring, shows a future plan and sounds much more professional. Culturally, tone and directness can be tricky. In some cultures, it's normal to say exactly what you mean. In others, politeness requires softer or indirect language. When communicating change in a global setting, especially in English-speaking workplaces, aim for transparent but empathetic. You don't want to sugarcoat so much that the message is lost, but you also don't want to be so blunt that it feels harsh. A very tricky balancing act, but one that is crucial for success. Finally, remember to pause and let people react. Rushing through the news or packing your explanation with too many details can overwhelm your audience. Take a breath, give them time to digest. This also shows confidence and keeps you from seeming frantic or unprepared. So, what if you've already made some of these mistakes? Does that mean the damage is done? Not necessarily. In our conclusion, I'll share how you can course correct and build credibility, even if your first attempt at crisis communication wasn't perfect. Trust me, it's easier than you think. Stay tuned. And that brings us to the end of today's episode of the Business English Podcast. We've covered a lot: how to structure a reassuring message, the key phrases to use, and the biggest mistakes to avoid when communicating change and uncertainty in English. Now, before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final tip. Mirror the energy you want your team to feel. If you sound nervous, your team will feel nervous. If you sound overly optimistic, they might think you're hiding something. But if you project calm confidence with a steady, reassuring tone, they'll take their cues from you. It's not just about words, it's about how you say them. So here's your challenge. Pick one of the phrases from today's episode and practice it out loud. Record yourself, listen back, and fine-tune your delivery. If you want to take it a step further, try adapting it to a real-life situation you might face, because the more you practice now, the easier it will be when you need it most. And if you found this episode useful, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a colleague who might need help navigating tricky conversations in English. Also, don't forget to sign up for our weekly newsletter, The 3-Minute Minutes, where you'll get even more professional communication tips and a full transcript of an episode. Or, if you're ready for a faster, more immersive upgrade, check out the Business English Podcast Premium subscription. All the links are in the show notes. Thank you for joining me today. Keep practicing, keep growing, and of course, keep it strictly business.